Congratulations. You are a very lucky person. Now, I don't know you, so you may be wondering how I can say this. And the reason is this. Since you are watching this video, you or somebody you know is the owner of one of the finest portable computers in the world today, the HP 110 Portable and/or Portable Plus. Hi, my name is Brian Teitzman, and I'm the Director of Sales for Personalized Software, located in the small, high-tech town of Fairfield, Iowa, right in the heart of America's Corn Belt. Personalized Software's primary focus of attention is on the two HP portable computers that I just mentioned. In fact, Personalized Software has become one of the world's centers, in fact, the world center for the support of these computers. Our main activities include the following. Number one, we provide our users with information and education about their computers. The main way that we do this is through our bi-monthly publication, The Portable Paper. Number two, we develop software and accessories for these machines. Right now, we offer over 100 products which are new and useful for the 110 and Portable Plus. And number three, we provide our customers with an excellent selection of both new and used Hewlett-Packard portable computers, software, and accessories. Personalized Software has produced this video in order to help you really get started using and enjoying your HP portable computer. Besides from telling you a little bit about our company, it's also my honor and privilege to introduce to you the gentleman who will be instructing you, Mr. Hal Goldstein, founder and president of Personalized Software. It'd be pretty hard to find anybody more qualified to tell you about the 110 and the Portable Plus. Hal graduated from the University of Illinois in 1981 with a master's degree in computer science. Shortly thereafter, he went to work for Hewlett-Packard in Cupertino, California as a software engineer. In his first 2 years, Hal worked with a team that wrote the HP 3000 basic interpreter. In his third year, he worked for HP Coach, training and backing up microcomputer technical support personnel. In 1984, Hal left Hewlett-Packard with a 110 portable computer under one arm and a LaserJet printer under the other. In 1985, Personalized Software got underway, supporting the 110 portable. Now, as Hewlett-Packard has come out with new machines, Personalized Software has been there to support these machines as well. Today, as president of Personalized Software, Hal is not only the manager of the company, he is also the chief editor of the Portable Paper, as well as our main source of creativity. In addition, Hal has created a network of experts on the 110 and Portable Plus worldwide, comprised of engineers both within HP and then leaders of other companies also devoted to these Hewlett-Packard portables. So as you can see, you are in very capable hands. Now, I proudly present to you Mr. Hal Goldstein.
Thank you, Brian. The purpose of this tape is to teach you, the HP 110 and HP Portable Plus user, how to best use your computer. The information that we've gathered for this tape is based on many years of experience supporting HP portables. So what we're going to do before we actually get into some of the how-tos, we're going to show you what you can do with your computer. We're going to look at a number of different applications and show you some results. First of all, let's look at the most common application. It's word processing. Everybody has to write letters, correspondence, memos, reports. It's just part of most of our lives today. With the HP 110 or Portable Plus computer, we could use the built-in Memo Maker program. Memo Maker is built into the HP 110 and can be easily built into the Portable Plus. Or we could use another great product called the Editor, or another product that's the most popular IBM PC software word processor called WordPerfect. In this tape, when we talk about the HP 110 or Portable Plus, I'll be showing you examples using either the HP 110 or the Portable Plus. And unless I tell you otherwise, whatever I do on one machine will be good for the other machine. It's true for if you have the other machine. Now for this first example, what I'd like to do is to show you Memo Maker, which actually comes built into the HP 110. It's a word processor. So here we have our HP 110. It's closed right now, and to open it up, all we have to do is move these two latches in, lift the screen up, and there we have the screen. Now to turn on the 110, it's the simplest thing you could possibly imagine. All you have to do is press any key, and the 110 immediately comes up. Now we're going to go into the word processor memo maker. To do that, notice on the screen there's an arrow, and that arrow is pointing down to memo maker. Since it's already there, all we have to do is press return, and memo maker is already up, ready for you to do your work. Now, as you may see at the bottom of the screen, there are 8 different labels, and those 8 labels correspond to the 8 different keys, 8 different function keys. This label, Get Memo, corresponds to F5. We'll be going into this in more detail in a few minutes. But we're going to get an article, actually, that is already in the 110. So I'm going to press F5, Get Memo. And it says on the top there, enter file name. So this particular file is called Touch. And I press return after I've entered the name of the file, which is Touch. And up comes an article that actually we published in the portable paper. It's a review of a numeric keypad that is external to the HP Portable Plus. Now, what we're going to do is print this article. And to print it, we see that there is print keys, F4. And so we press F4 to print. And then we see that F5 is print memo. And there's a light that's flashing on the top that says printer not ready. And the reason why that's flashing is because we didn't bother turning the printer on. So let's move over to the printer here. There's a little switch on the back. We turn it on. Now let's try it again. We print memo, and it starts printing. Okay, so here's the result of printing our article for the portable paper out. What we're going to do in a little bit later in the tape is we're going to go into much more detail about how to use these programs. For now, I just want to give you a feeling of what you can do with your HP Portable. What we're going to look at next is another program that's built into the HP 110 and is most people have it in their HP Portable Plus, and it's called Lotus 123. Lotus 123 is known as a spreadsheet. With Lotus 123 spreadsheet, you're going to be able to do a tremendous variety of kinds of useful tasks, things that you probably never would have thought of if you didn't have a computer and you didn't have Lotus. The first thing that we're going to look at is the more obvious application of Lotus. When you think of a spreadsheet, you think of working with numbers. And in fact, you can use Lotus to budget. You can use it to keep track of your travel expenses. If you're a salesperson and you want to make a bid to someone else, you can use it to show the bid. You can use it for very sophisticated financial modeling. You can do expense tracking, checkbook reconciliation, income tax planning and preparation, portfolio management, and much more. In fact, when I recently bought a car, what I did was I took my Portable Plus, and I put all the options down, and I put what he was going to give me for my old car and the interest payment, and I found it a very effective tool for taking control, actually, of that sales situation rather than he taking control of me, and I had the figures right there. Now I'm going to illustrate to you an example of using Lotus with a cash budget that we prepared for this demonstration. To do that, we're going to use the Portable Plus. And so if we look at our Portable Plus, right now we see there's an arrow that's pointing to something called DOS commands. And what all these black boxes are different applications that we can run with the Portable Plus. We're going to talk in more detail about that shortly. But for right now, notice if I press the right arrow key, the arrow moves to where it says Webster's. We can keep pressing the arrow key, and we're now at Memo Maker, at Time Manager, the Editor, and now we move the down arrow key, and the arrow's pointing at Lotus, which is what we want to do. We want to use Lotus. Now I press Return, and it will load in a matter of seconds. Press Return again. If you are used to or have ever used an IBM PC or any kind of computer that has a mechanical disk drive, what I just did, which took a matter of seconds, could literally take minutes. Now I'm going to load a file that we already have a budget. And the way that I do that in Lotus is I press the slash key, the one that's below the question mark. And that brings us up the menu. So I'll type slash, and then F for file, R for retrieve, and there's something that says cache budge, which is the name of a file. It's the name of the budget that we've already put into this spreadsheet. So now I'll press return, and here's a budget that talks about January, February, March, April, and we move the cursor over one. We have a column which says cash received, which is cash sales, collections, others, it's total received, cash spent, manufacturing, and so on. The contents doesn't matter. I just want to illustrate to you how we would, an example of how we'd use the spreadsheet. Now we're going to print out the spreadsheet. And I go slash, again, that same slash, print, range, and it's already been defined. And then go, and we're going to start printing. Again, don't worry about the details because we're going to go into that in the third section. But I just want to show you what you can do with Lotus. Here's the result, the output from our printing. We see the first 6 months are on the top page, and the second 6 months are on a second page. Ideally, we'd like the whole 12 months in one row. We'd like to be able to print the spreadsheet sideways, so January starts up here and all the way to December. In fact, it's possible to do that. We use a program called Sidewinder, and here's the result of printing the same spreadsheet, but using Sidewinder to print the Lotus spreadsheet sideways to the HP ThinkJet printer. What we'll see shortly is that Lotus is such a rich application. We can use it not only for numerical analysis, but to do list management, to use databases. We can use Lotus as a database or a list manager. Or we can use another product called Condor if we need a really very sophisticated kind of database manipulation. Here are a couple examples of what we can do on the HP portables using Lotus. We can keep our address book. We can keep track of our customers, their history of purchases, how much they paid us, how much they owe us. We can even develop a rather sophisticated accounting system just using Lotus. Another example is we could have a to-do list with dates and priorities. We can keep track of our credit cards. We can list our valuables for insurance purposes. Suppose we have our stamp collectors or coin collectors or trade baseball cards or whatever. We can use it to keep track of collectibles. Okay, now we still have our budget on the screen, but we want to try a different application. We want to try, you're going to use Lotus, but with a name and address book that we've actually already loaded into the system. In other words, we typed it in earlier. So again, I'm going to use the slash, our menu command, and then file, and then retrieve. And I've got something here. It actually lists the files that we've created, so we don't have to type them in. And you can see cache budge, which is what this is. And the other one is database. And so I simply move the cursor to database, press return, and lo and behold, we have another file. And you can see we have a list of accounts receivable. These are folks that owe us money. And we have an account number, we have a first name, we have a last name, we have a city, state, zip, and how much they owe us. Now the wonderful thing about Lotus is that we can look at this information any way we want. So for example, suppose what we're concerned with are the people that owe us the most. we can resort this list in a matter of seconds according to the people who owe us the most. So what I'm going to do is just put the cursor at the top there. I'm going to press the command / data sort. I'm going to tell it that I want the primary key. I want to sort by the balance. Oops, balance there. Press return. And I want to do it in ascending order. In other words, the highest first. Press return. And then I want to define my range, what I want to sort. I press D, and the range is actually already defined. Press return, and then I go. And just like that, actually ascending meant the smallest first, but we have what we want. That turns out that old Laurent here owes us $6,000, $6,700, whereas Don Henderson only owes us $4,000. On the other hand, if we wanted to sort by last name, we could do that very quickly. I just go /DS. The primary key becomes the last name. I press return. And it asks us ascending order. The answer is yes. And then we go. And we've sorted immediately by last name. Now it's time to print the file out. So I go /print, and then I can go, and there we go. Here's the result. As you can see, it's a list that's sorted by last name of the people who owe us money. To make it look a little nicer, I tore off both sides, this little strip of paper, and it's ready to look at our list. Now, our next application, the thing that we're going to look at, is communications. The HP portables talking to other computers. This ability to talk to other computers throughout the world is going to be increasingly valuable as the years pass and as people become more used to using computers and the advantages of transferring information across computers. We can use the HP 110's 300 baud modem or the HP Portable Plus's 1200 baud modem to communicate with other computers. We need software to make use of the modem. And in fact, we need a program called Terminal that's built into the 110 to use the 110 modem. Or instead, we could use another program called Term 110. On the Portable Plus, we can use the built-in Term program or a product called Reflection or Term Plus. We use the portables to transfer files between the portable and the home or the office. So if we have an office computer, a big office computer, we can actually either log directly onto it or transfer files back and forth. We can download software, in other words, bring software that's on another computer and download it to our HP portable, or we can even talk to other users via bulletin boards, free bulletin boards throughout the world. We can also make use of commercial databases to shop or to obtain current stock prices, baseball scores, legal and medical information, or we can even use it to get technical support, how to use our software or our computers. Okay, now we're going to show you an example of using the Portable Plus to communicate with a very popular commercial database. First of all, we have to start our communication software program. To do that, we move the down arrow key and move the arrow to an application called Term Plus. I press return, and Term Plus will load. Okay, I have a phone line that's connected to the back of the Portable Plus, and I'll be showing you how to do that in a minute. It's just simply a matter of plugging it in. I'll press F1, dial menu, and press it again, and we are dialing CompuServe. In this case, we're actually calling a long-distance number. We're calling Kansas City, but most small towns actually have local CompuServe numbers, so you can actually call a local number. Now, as you can see, it says connect 1200. In other words, our 1200 baud modem made the connection, and the session's initiated with CompuServe. Now I'm going to press return, and a character told CompuServe we're ready, and I press return, and my ID got typed in. This was all pre-programmed into Term Plus. And now I'm going to press return, and my password will not get written on the screen so nobody can see it, but will get entered into CompuServe, and CompuServe recognizes it. And look, I don't know if you can see, I think it says I have electronic mail waiting. So it's time to check my electronic mail, and the CompuServe command is go email plus return. And in about, depending on how fast CompuServe today, well, look, I've got 3 messages. So it says type number 1 to read my messages. So I press 1, press return. And I've got 2 that I didn't know about, and 1 from me that I had sent yesterday. So I'm going to, since this is private mail, I'm not going to look at 1 and 2 right now, but I'll look at number 3 that I actually sent me, just to show you how this works. So I press 3, which is Hal Goldstein. And it says, greetings, hello HP Portable users, I hope you are learning a lot. And so on, it's a message. So to get off of CompuServe, I'll simply type bye, B-Y-E. It asks me whether I want to delete the message, and the answer is yes. And it tells me thank you, and you're welcome, and we're done. Another great thing that you can do with HP Portables is manage your time. Instead of that bulky day timer, you can keep track of your appointments, your to-do lists, a calendar, name and addresses, using a program called Time Manager, which is built in, that you can have built into the HP Portable Plus, or you can use with the HP 110. So now we're going to use Time Manager. We'll move the right arrow to the box that says Time Management. We press return, and we will be loading in a second. And there we have it. Turns out that today is November 5th, 1988. And you can see the calendar in the center. It tells us our next month. In fact, if we want to go to later in the year or day, we can easily do that. Suppose we move it to the 6th of November. We can do that. And perhaps you notice that our appointment list and our to-do list changed as the date changed. So let's move back to the 5th of November. And we see here a list of appointments that we've got to take care of on November 5th, and some things to do. We also, if we choose, can look at our name and address book. And that's F4, name and address. And we have a list of names and phone numbers, and we could actually have more detail if we wanted. So let's go back to calendar. What you'll see here is a very useful tool for you that you can keep track of your appointments and things to do. We've seen the usefulness of these HP Portables for word processing, for spreadsheets, for list managers, for time management, for communications. But actually, you can do all that on a desktop computer. The advantage of an HP Portable is that it's portable, and there are many more things that you can do because it's a portable computer. Let's look at some advantages of portability. First of all, we can easily move our HP Portable anywhere in our home or in our office. We can even use a portable when we're waiting for that plane that's been delayed a half an hour or an hour or whatever. We can use the portable on the airplane itself. And when we leave the airport, we can use it in the cab or as a passenger when we're in a car on a long trip. Suppose that you need to do some research at a library. You can use your portable to take notes there. You could also use your portable if you attend seminars or if you're a student and attending classes and take actually readable notes that you can easily modify. And there's so many other uses for a portable, and they become apparent as you get used to using your portable. And a portable really becomes your constant companion. HP Portable computers are unique. There are many advantages of HP Portable computers over traditional computers with mechanical disk drives. And we'll be exploring that briefly right now and then in more detail in a few minutes in this tape. HP portables have many advantages over their competitors due to their unique RAM-ROM disk-based technology. We're going to explain what that means in a few minutes, but let's just look at the difference between a RAM-ROM disk-based technology computer like the HP 110 or Portable Plus versus a mechanical disk drive-based computer. We find that an HP portable is much more rugged. If you drop a mechanical drive that's associated with with another portable, it's going to destroy that mechanical drive. We find that an HP portable is lighter. That's 8 pounds versus 16. We find that you can be using your portable for up to 20 hours of continuous use without plugging it in versus an average of 2 hours on a conventional portable computer. And disk access is faster. When we use the RAM-ROM approach of the HP Portable and the HP Portable Plus, we're actually operating in units of speed of light because we're making electronic access, disk access. Alternatively, if we are using a mechanical disk drive, then physically we are getting information from an external disk, and that takes much more time than the electronic RAM-ROM approach. So these computers are actually very rugged, very lightweight. Oops. Well, let's see what happened here. It slipped out of my hand. Let's turn it on, and let's hope we're back in business. In fact, it actually shook the computer on. I didn't even have to press any key. We get stories all the time from readers whose portables have survived fires, who have been in car crashes where the portables skipped across concrete and landed in manholes. These are incredibly rugged machines. And if you try doing that with a traditional computer with a mechanical disk drive, there's no way that the computer would work. Now, we know you don't plan to drop your computer or to get into car crashes with them. However, the nature of portability means that you're going to be banging, you're going to be jostling the computer when you go through terminals. They're just all the time you're going to have to be hitting it here and there. And to know that you're not going to lose your data is very reassuring and is one of the great benefits of an HP portable computer. One other benefit I want to mention is that those people who stare all day at a computer terminal, traditional CRT, can find eye strain. But this LCD screen is much easier on the eyes. And I found a tremendous difference when I started using these computers versus using a regular desktop computer. So now we're going into the first section, which is the fundamentals of using the computer. Actually, we've just covered an overview, and the second section is the fundamentals. So let's look at the overview of this whole tape of what we're going to be talking about. So this tape on learning to use the HP 110 Portable and HP Portable Plus computer is divided into 5 sections. We've just completed the first section, which was an overview of the benefits of using HP portable computers, how we could best use them. The second section is on fundamentals of using the HP 110 and Portable Plus. This is the nuts and bolts of the tape, and this information will give you the basic understanding that you need to be using the HP 110 and Portable Plus in the coming years. Section 3 is on built-in ROM-based software. We saw on that original PAM screen with all those boxes examples of built-in software. And we're going to be showing you how to actually use, at least getting started in products like Lotus and Memo Maker and communication software and Time Manager. In Section 4, we're going to be connecting the HP Portable up with a ThinkJet printer, with an external disk drive, with a letter quality DeskJet printer, and with another computer, with an IBM PC compatible computer. And we'll see how to do that. Finally, the last section we'll look at additional products that enhance the usefulness of HP portables. This tape is really both for novice users, people who've never used computers before, and for experienced users. Experienced users can go through the tape once. They should concentrate on the fundamentals section and on the products that enhance their HP portables. You'll find that there's enough unique qualities of the HP portables that it's worth your time going through, especially the fundamental section. Novice users, you'll find that there's a lot of information to learn, but by repeating the tape 2 or 3 times, most of it will sink in, and it'll be very much worth your time. You'll be getting a head start over the vast majority of people that started using HP portables before you. Part 2, Fundamentals of Using the HP 110 and HP Portable Plus computers. In this section, we're going to be looking at 5 basic aspects or concepts in how to make best use of your computer. The first is the most important, and we call it RAM and ROM-based storage. In the second section, we'll look at maximizing screen readability. In the third section, we'll look at some unique HP special keys. We'll look at the keyboard in general. In the fourth section, we're going to be connecting HP portables to peripherals like printers and external disk drive. And finally, in the fifth section, we're going to look at PAM, which stands for Personal Applications Manager. It's the basic home screen from which you perform all your activities using your HP portables. In this second section of our tape, we're going to be looking at fundamentals. And these concepts, although at first it may take a little bit for those novices out there to understand, are absolutely basic for you making full use of your HP Portable and HP Portable Plus. And the most basic of these concepts, the most important for you to understand and the most unique in terms of HP portability, is the concept of RAM and ROM, and how RAM and ROM-based disk drives are used on the HP portables. Before we can look at RAM and ROM, we must understand how you measure the size of a file. Files are what is created when using application software. So, for example, when we used Memo Maker, we created a file, a letter, or in the case of our example earlier, an article from the portable paper. The basic unit is something maybe many of you have heard of, is bytes. Now let's look at what we mean by bytes. Bytes are the basic units of storage on a computer. The easiest way to understand this is to understand that one letter of the alphabet takes up approximately 1 byte of computer storage. 1,000 bytes or characters is known as 1 kilobyte and is commonly called 1K of storage. Information in computers is stored in files. A file's size is measured by how many K bytes the file occupies. Again, to bring this down to terms that we can understand, a printed page of text occupies approximately 2K of computer memory or storage space. 1 megabyte equals 1 million bytes, or 1,000 K, approximately 500 pages of text. Information on the HP 110 and Portable Plus is stored in electronic chips, which we call RAM and ROM. First, let's look at ROM. ROM, or read-only memory. The thing to understand about information that's stored on ROM is that that information cannot change. It does not change over time. Therefore, the natural thing to store on ROM, the natural computer information to store on ROM, is software, application software, such as Lotus 123 or Memo Maker. And in fact, on the HP portables, application software usually is stored in ROM. The other kind of information, the other kind of storage medium in which we can store information is called RAM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. Information stored in RAM can change. Files generated by software applications such as Memo Maker or Lotus 123 are usually stored in RAM. So our budget that we showed in the first section, the file that was created when we created the budget, was stored in RAM. HP Portable RAM is divided into two parts. The first part is temporary workspace, which we call main memory or internal memory, and the second part is storage space, called electronic disk or e-disk. This idea that RAM is divided into internal memory and e-disk is probably the single most important concept that you need to understand to fully make use of your HP Portable or HP Portable Plus. One analogy one of our employees mentioned to me the other day that he likes to use when explaining it to customers is the use of a normal desk. If we have a desk, we have workspace on the top of the desk, which constantly changes, and we have files. We have file cabinets where we store information, and that information stays there, or at least stays there for a while. And here's the analogy. Internal memory is like the top of the desktop. It changes, it's just temporarily used when you run a program. So for example, suppose you're running Memo Maker. When you run Memo Maker, there needs to be internal RAM space to store Memo Maker and the file that you're creating. However, when it comes time to leave Memo Maker, you either have to save the file, in other words, clear off your desk and put it in a file cabinet, or you're going to have to throw it away or throw it in the wastebasket. So internal memory is that memory that's used temporarily to store information that you happen to be working on. On the other hand, electronic disk space is that space that you need to permanently, or at least for a while, store the information that you're working on. So if you're in Memo Maker and you're writing a letter and you want to save that letter for future use, then you would save that letter to the electronic disk. Now, the thing is, on the HP Portables, you can allocate the amount of RAM that you're given, and this will be clearer in a few minutes, but you can allocate the amount of RAM the way you want to between workspace, temporary workspace, and between electronic disk. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the HP 110, because we'll see that there is a difference between the HP 110 and Portable Plus, how RAM and ROM are used. On the HP 110 Portable, there is 272K of user configurable RAM. In other words, you can divide up that 272,000 characters of information between electronic disk space to store your files and temporary workspace. There is also 384K of software that's just built into the HP 110 into ROM. That software includes Lotus 123, Memo Maker, Terminal, which is the program that you use on the 110 to communicate with other computers, in other words, to use your modem, and finally, MS-DOS, and we'll be talking about what that is in a few minutes. It's also possible to load programs like a spelling checker or like that time manager program that we saw briefly at the beginning of this tape into RAM. When HP first introduced the Portable, the HP 110, their idea was to create a unit that was complete in itself, in which almost all the possible things you could want to do when you were traveling, you could do. So in fact, in the HP 110 with Memo Maker, you can be writing your letters. With Lotus, you can be storing your names and addresses or doing budgets or making sales presentations. With terminal, you can communicate with other computers and send information back to the home office. However, as time went on, people decided that they wanted to be able to customize up their portable the way they wanted to use it. And HP introduced the Hewlett-Packard Portable Plus. The one obvious difference between the two computers is that the Portable Plus uses a different screen technology and therefore could afford to go to 25 lines and still have a very readable screen. The other difference, though, is the way RAM and ROM works on these machines. On the HP Portable Plus, you actually build your system the way you want to use it. RAM and ROM on the HP Portable Plus, software ROM, and memory RAM drawers. The HP Portable Plus comes with 128K of RAM built in, or 512K of RAM space built in. It does not come with any application software except for MS-DOS, which you can see on the top of your screen. The DOS is part of the Portable Plus. So for the Portable Plus to be useful, you're going to have application software. And for application software can be either put into RAM or put into ROM in the form of ROM chips. Now, the way you add to the Portable Plus is by adding drawers into the bottom of the Portable Plus. And here is an example, or here is the drawers that exist. We have a drawer here and a drawer here. And in a minute, Larry Baldozier, our operations director, will be showing you actually how to put RAM and ROM into your machine. For now, let me just show you an example of a RAM drawer and a ROM drawer, and then we'll turn it over to Larry, who's going to show you actually how to install RAM and ROM. Here's the back side that slips right into the Portable Plus. On the other side, we see empty spaces, and in this case, 5 different ROM chips, which are software programs, which will show up on your application, your PAM application screen, if this particular drawer was stored into the Portable Plus. Here is a RAM drawer. And if we took out the covers, which HP really doesn't want you to do, you could actually see more chips. And this is RAM memory. And you would put, in this case, a 384K RAM drawer into this machine. This machine comes with 512K built in. So you would have a total of 896K of RAM. Now I'm going to turn over the talk for a few minutes to Larry Baldozier, who's going to show you how to take out and put in RAM drawers and ROM chips and ROM drawers. Larry?
Thank you, Hal. In this demonstration, I will show you how we can both increase the memory and add software programs on ROM to our Portable Plus. But first of all, I want to show you how much memory we have in this Portable Plus right now. It's a 512 base memory. But if we didn't know that, we could easily find out by pressing the F6 key on the Portable Plus. We access the System Configuration menu. If you will notice the top line, you'll see Main Memory eDisk. And if you add the combination of these numbers together, that will tell you what we have for a base memory. In this case, it's 512K. This may not seem important now, but when we put this memory drawer in, when we install this memory drawer, then we can go back into system configuration, add these numbers up again, and then you'll know and you can see that we've added additional memory to this unit. I'm not going to go into great detail on the system configuration. Hal will cover more of this later. I just wanted you to be aware of these numbers so that when we go back into system configuration later, that you can see that we added memory to this machine. Okay, we're going to turn this machine over, but before we do that, I want to recommend to you that you back up your files on the Portable Plus. By backing up, I mean that you copy the files from your eDisk, to another disk of your choosing. And this is because once we remove these drawers, we're going to lose any information that is now stored in our Portable Plus. And we want to be able to put those files back on this computer when we're done. As I turn this over, you're going to notice something really remarkable about this Portable Plus. Hewlett-Packard, in all their wisdom, while engineering this machine, designed it so that we, the customer, could have partial access to this machine, which is really neat because it gives us the opportunity to increase the memory or to add software programs on ROM to our Portable Plus. At this time, I'm going to remove the screws that hold the drawers in. There are 4 screw locations. For the ease of this demonstration, I've already removed 3 of the 4 screws. The only tool that is needed to remove these screws is a common screwdriver that you can buy at any hardware store for about 95 cents. To remove the drawers on the Portable Plus, it's actually quite easy. We just pull out and up and remove them. These are 2 blank drawers, and you can tell that because there is nothing written on the drawers, and also you can look in the ends of the drawers and you can see right into them. I'd like to recommend at this time that you do not touch these rows of prongs on either drawer as you install it. The reason for this is because during the wintertime, or even during the summertime, we conduct a lot of static electricity. And if we were to touch these prongs, it may create a spark and we could possibly damage the unit beyond repair. So it's just a real good idea to hold the unit by the sides and to be very aware of this row of prongs and not to touch them. We're going to turn this unit over now so that you can see that it's a memory drawer. We know that because it says memory drawer on the outside of the drawer. We don't know how much memory is contained in this drawer, but we do know that it is a memory drawer. We'll find that out later on after we install the unit. To install this drawer, and oh, by the way, you may say, well, which side does this drawer go into? Well, it doesn't really matter. This is something that Hewlett-Packard, in all their wisdom, has once again done for us. They've given us the ability to put the drawer any place we want to put it in either side. We can either add memory to either side, or we can add ROMs, or we can add a combination. But they've really made it quite simple for us, the user. I'm going to take this drawer now, and I'm going to install it into this unit. It's actually quite easily installed. You just drop the drawer in. There's little indentations there. And then gently but firmly push toward the middle of the computer until it's seated. And that's all there is to that. We put our 2 screws back in and we're ready to go. We've added memory to the Portable Plus. But as long as we've got it upside down and we've got the other drawer out, we might just as well add software programs on ROM to it. Over here you'll notice a ROM drawer. And we know that because as we look at this drawer, we'll notice little ROM chips with program titles or program labels attached to them. For instance, this drawer has a spell checker program in there, it has a Lotus program in there, and it has a Memo Maker Time Manager program in there. We're going to install a super ROM from Personalized Software. This is a ROM that has a word processing program, it has a Sidewinder program, a Shell program. And these are all software products that Hal will talk about later, but it's some of the fine ROMs that you can purchase from us that will definitely give you more ability to do the job that you need to do. On closer inspection of this drawer, you will notice an outline of a chip. And I'll use this screwdriver to point that out, that right here, there's a little line that outlines a chip. And right in here, there's a little indentation. And what that representation is, it represents the notch in this chip. I'm going to set this drawer down for a minute and show you this chip. The chip has a definite notch that's cut into one end. And it has to go in the software drawer so that this notch matches up to the notch on the little diagram in the bottom of the drawer. I hope that you can clearly see this. If you'll notice these other chips, you'll notice the direction that the notches are pointed. Maybe that will help you more clearly see the outline on the bottom of the drawer. Okay, something that I may have neglected to tell you before, but I want you to remember, is that some of these programs are so large they have to be installed on more than one chip. If you'll notice on the bottom of the ROM drawer that you'll see an H and you'll see an L. And this just signifies the position of the chips. When you purchase your programs, you'll notice on the chips there is also a corresponding H and an L. So the only thing that you have to remember when installing these chips in pairs is that the little notch has to go in the right direction, and that the H has to correspond with the H slot and the L has to correspond with the L slot. If you do that, you shouldn't have any problems at all. But in the event that you do have any problems, I also want to tell you that you can contact us. We have an excellent technical support group. We'll be glad to help you with any problems you may have. Right now I'm going to show you how to install this Super ROM chip. It's actually very easy. You shouldn't be afraid to handle it. But once again, I want to remind you that you should touch something metal or something to make sure you don't have any static electricity on your body, because if you happen to touch one of these little legs on this chip, you once again take the chance of wiping out all of the information that's on this chip. If that's done, there's nothing that we can do to help you except to sell you another chip. Okay, we know that the notch is in the right position. And since there's only one chip, it doesn't matter which slot we put it in, the H or the L. We can put it in either. In this case, I'm going to put it right here in the L. What I want to do is put in the back set of legs first into these little holes. And so, as you can see, the back legs are setting in the little holes, but the front legs are still out. And this is for a reason. This is so that we can kind of eyeball this and see whether we need to bend the legs in a little bit or whether they'll fit just like that. In this case, it's almost in the holes. So I can just take and press this chip a little bit toward me and down. As I do, you'll notice that the little legs fit into the holes. And before we push the chip all the way down and seat it, let's take one good look and make sure that the legs have all started in all the little holes. And these have, so the only thing left to do is push down firmly on the chip until the chip seats. And that's all there is to it. So this program is installed and it's ready to install back into the machine. To install the drawer back into Portable Plus, it's just as easy as when we installed the memory drawer. We just drop the drawer down in the little slots and press firmly toward the center of the computer, and that's all there is to it. For this demonstration purpose, I'm not going to install the screws back into the two drawers, but normally we would put the 4 screws back in and tighten them down just snugly. I'm going to turn the Portable Plus over now, and I want you to see what happens when I turn the screen on. We push down the contrast key, and I want you to watch this corner up here. And you'll see a message, you'll see a warning flashing telling us that we probably corrupted our disk and we need to reformat it. Now that's going to happen anytime you remove one of your drawers, and that isn't a problem, it's not even a concern. All you need to do is follow the directions and press the F1 key. This will format our disk and will make our computer usable again. You're going to notice something exciting that you probably never noticed on the other machine, and that's because we didn't have any software programs there. But now we have a whole grouping of software programs that we didn't have, which is really neat because even though we have them in the machine, they're not using up space. So whatever we've installed in our memory and whatever we had for our base memory is ours to use for file space or for disk space. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push the system configuration key now, and I want you to notice the amount of memory that we now have available in the machine. It was 512, it's now 896. But you'll also notice that you may need some more memory to run your program. So what we want to do is we want to increase the amount of memory over here in the main. And Hal will go into this later, how we can allocate more memory for the file space or more memory for our disk space. The important thing to remember is that you need to do that because otherwise some of your programs may not run. At this time, I'd like to turn the program back over to Hal. I'm finished with my demonstration. If you have any more questions, you're welcome to call our technicians of Personalized Software. They'll be glad to help you with anything they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Now what we're going to do is see how we can make the screen more readable. Maximizing screen readability. There are three ways to increase the readability of the screen. The first is be sure to place your portable in a good lighting situation. And good lighting means usually having light overhead or in back of the computer. One thing that you need to understand is that the portables are really designed for one person looking at these portables at a time. And so usually you can find a position that is most readable for you, but then if somebody's looking over your shoulder, they're not going to be able to see the screen very well. So let's look at the other two ways of fixing screen readability. If we press the Shift contrast or the contrast key, and the contrast key is the half moon key in the lower right half of the screen, we make the screen darker or lighter in contrast. So let's press the Shift contrast, and you can see slowly it fades away. If we press the contrast key, then the contrast increases. So these are very important tools whether you're using a 110 or a Portable Plus. The other thing you can do is simply tilt the screen. You can move the screen back or forward, and depending on your lighting and where you're looking at it, any one of these positions may suit your needs. The HP 110 and HP Portable Plus keyboard. The HP Portable keyboard is unique. It was designed to give you full functionality and yet maintain its portability. The first thing you'll need to know is how to turn the computer on. And the way to turn the computer on is to simply press any key, any alphabetic or numeric key. Now if you do so, what may happen, it may take you 2 or 3 key presses. To ensure that it turns on the first time, if it matters, you can just press the contrast key and it automatically will come on. And so you see your system is on. Now to turn the system off, you can press the F8 key. As you can see, the F8 key corresponds to the off key on the screen. And we'll be going into that in a few minutes. But in general, the function keys, there's a relationship between the function keys and the labels. So let's press the F8 key. The system turns off. This time we'll just press the letter B, and the system did come on fine. Now, if you happen to forget to turn the computer off, or if you're in the middle of, say, your Lotus spreadsheet or your Memo Maker document and the phone rings, what will happen is after 5 minutes, the system will simply shut itself off. And when you're ready to start, you just press any key, and you're back to wherever you were when the system shut itself off. So it's a way that the HP engineers designed into the portables to preserve battery life. Now let's just look at the keyboard. First you'll see is a set of keys that are just like any typewriter. You see the normal letters and a space bar and the numbers on the top of the keyboard and your shift key. So if you want a capital Z, you just press shift Z, or shift C, or lowercase c is C. There's even a caps lock so that if you want all uppercase, you can just hold that down and then you'll be typing all capital letters. Another set of keys that are very easy to use, and because they're graphical, they're pretty obvious what they mean, is the 4 cursor keys. You see here there is a left arrow, an up arrow, a down arrow, and a right arrow. These keys are to navigate you through whatever document you happen to be working on. And we're going to be showing these keys in action in a few minutes when we actually get into Memo Maker. A third set of keys are the function keys, F1 through F4 and F5 through F8. These keys are useful in many applications. Now, the way applications tell you about their use is by a set of labels that are at the bottom of the screen. So, for example, you'll see there are 8 different labels on the Portable Plus screen, and similarly on the HP 110 screen and this Home PAM screen. And what these 8 labels correspond to are the 8 function keys. So the first 4 keys correspond to the first 4 function keys, and the second 4 respond to keys F5, F6, F7, and F8. Another set of keys are generated by holding down the extend character key. There are 2 extend character keys for your convenience, and they are located on either side of the space bar. And what these extend character keys is give you a whole extra set of keys. So on our Portable Plus, actually, we have a map. And this is a map of characters that can be generated by pressing the extend char key and the letter in question. So, for example, to press the extend char key here, and the letter H will produce a funny character. I'm not sure, it's probably a Greek character. If we press the extend character key and the up arrow key, what will happen is we'll back up a page. If you notice here on the sides, on the actual front sides of a number of keys is wording. And that wording tells you what to do if you press the extend character key and that particular key. So for example, if you press the extend character key and the next key, you will go down in many applications to the next page. If you press the extend character key and the minus char key, what happens is the character will be deleted. So let's just look at the different set of keys here that we get with the extend character key. One thing that's important to note is that these combination only works with certain applications that were designed with this Hewlett-Packard Portable in mind. For example, Memo Maker. If we press the extend character key and the clear line key, what happens is the end of the line from where your cursor is at to the end is deleted. If we press the extend character key and the clear display key, F4, which becomes clear display, then the whole display will become eliminated. If we press extend character and plus line, what happens is a blank line gets inserted into your text. If we press extend character and minus line, a line gets deleted. If we press extend character and plus character, we change modes. And this will be clearer in a minute when we get into Memo Maker. But basically there's 2 modes. Either you're typing over whatever happens to be in text, and you see what happened now with this timeout facility that we just talked about. Our screen went blank after 5 minutes, so I'm going to press any key and we're back in business. Now the extend character key and the plus character key will give us either in replace mode or insert mode. Replace mode means that we're typing over whatever we happen to be typing. And insert mode means that we're actually inserting the new characters. Now this will be clearer in a minute when we get into Memo Maker. The num key is only for the Portable Plus. Everything else I've been talking about is both for the 110 and the Portable Plus. But the set of num keys are for the Portable Plus only. And what that does is it gives you a numeric keypad. If you look at numbers 7, 8, 9, and the letters U, I, and 0, you'll see on the front side, if the camera is able to pick it up well, that they're actually numbers. And when you press extend character and the num key, what happens is instead of when you press the K, a 2 will come. If you press a U, the 4 will come. So you get a numeric keypad, which is useful when you're doing a lot of numeric entry. And to get out of that num mode, you just press extend character and the select key or the num key, and eventually, then immediately you'll be able to type the letters rather than the numbers. Another set of keys that we want to talk about are keys that don't normally appear on any computer except for HP computers. The first of these two I'll mention are the menu key and the user system key. Now these two keys are common or are known to Hewlett-Packard HP 3000 users. The HP 3000 is a mainframe, or it's actually a mini computer that can have many terminals attached to it. And if you use this Portable Plus as a terminal, then you can use the 3000, and then the menu and the user system key will have a meaning to you. However, in many portable applications, these keys are they don't have meaning. If you do try to run IBM compatible software on the Portable Plus, and you change modes into alternate mode, and this will be clearer in a few minutes, then the menu key becomes F9 and the user system becomes F10. So you get the full 10 function keys that are available in most IBM desktop computers. Another key that is not normally found is the select key. The select key means, in many applications, end. Finally, we talked about the contrast. We want to talk about the contrast key again briefly, and the escape key, and the print key. The contrast key, we've already seen the uses, at least in terms of contrast. We press contrast or shift contrast, and that adjusts the contrast. If we want to turn our portable on, that's the best key to press. The other important use of the contrast key is to turn your system off. If you're ever in a situation where, for some reason or another, you don't know what to do, or the system locks up, and nothing else seems to work, you can hold down the contrast key for 15 seconds. And actually, while we're talking, I'm going to hold down that contrast key, and we'll see that slowly the screen starts to fade away. And then if you look at the screen, what's going to happen is there's going to be like a little flash that may or may not show up on the camera, and we are out of business, or we're in business, depending on what we really want to do. If we press the contrast key again, there was the flash where we restart the system. Now, while we're talking about restarting the system, there's another quicker way to restart the system if you're ever in a position where your system does seem to be locked or you don't know what to do. Rather than waiting the 15 seconds, you can hold down the control key, the shift key, and the brake key all at once. So I'm going to do it. So I'm going to press the control key, the shift key, and the brake key. And what happened is the computer once again reset itself. Another key that is used in many applications, both portable and actually non-portable HP portable applications, is the escape key. In general, if you're using a program, Lotus is a prime example, and you seem to be stuck within Lotus and you don't know what to do, if you keep pressing the escape key, eventually you'll come out so that you're in a home screen or a screen that you're used to. One other key that's very useful is the Shift Print key. So here we see this key that says Print and Enter. If I hold down the Shift key and press the Print key, what's going to happen is the printer is going to start printing. So I'm going to do it now. And what's going to happen is the screen, whatever on the screen, is going to get printed to the ThinkJet printer. So I hold the Shift, press Print, and the screen starts printing. Now, because we're in text mode, what's called text mode, only the text that's on the screen is really going to get printed out. There's actually a way of putting the computer in graphics mode so that the literal screen would get printed out. And we'll be talking about this towards the end of the tape. Now let's get into Memo Maker and just very briefly show you the use of these cursor movement keys. So to get into Memo Maker, I'm going to move the cursor key, the right arrow key, and then watch this arrow slowly move over to Memo Maker. I press Return, and we're in Memo Maker. I'm going to get a file. See the correspondence there, F5 and Get Memo. So I'm going to F5 and press that and get a file. And it asks me to type my file name, enter file name, and press Return. So my file name is called Touch. And I'll press Return. And almost instantaneously, the file loads. Now, what I'm going to do is just give you a few examples of holding down the Extend Character key and getting some activity. So right now, I'm going to hold down the Extend Character key and the next key, the down arrow key, and we'll see we're going to jump ahead one page. We can do it again, and we jump ahead another page. If I hold the Extend Character key down and the previous key, or the up arrow key, we will be moving up a page. So let me just put down my pointer here and press Extend Character and Previous, and we'll be going up a page. If we want to go home, in other words, we want to go to the upper left-hand portion of our document, we press the Extend Character key and the Home key or left arrow key there, and we're home. If we want to insert text, we want to just start inserting text, we need to be in insert mode. And to get into insert mode, we hold down Extend Character and plus Character, and you'll see, I don't know if you noticed that, but the letter I all of a sudden appeared on the screen. If we held down Extend Character and plus Character again, the I would go away, and we're going to hold it down once again. So that we can be in insert mode. When we're in insert mode, we just start typing, hello, and we see the whole text starts moving. If we got out of insert mode by pressing Extend Character again and plus Character, then as we type, we're going to actually type over, in this case, the word touch tone, and so we're going to type the word there, and you see, plus the spacebar a couple times, and we've actually just typed over. Connecting the HP portables with other devices. The back of the HP portable. Now we're going to talk about the back of the HP portable. We're going to see that the jacks and the ports that are in the back of the portable will allow us to recharge the system or talk to printers or disk drives or even other computers. So first, let's just see how we need to recharge the unit. As you can see, on my right, you'll see there's 3 different holes that are grouped together. And the one that I'm pointing at, where my finger is pointing, is the jack where we're going to plug in our recharger. Here's the recharger, and as you can see, you can just plug it into any wall socket. And to plug the charger in to the plus, we just simply push it in till it goes in nicely, plug it in, and we're recharging. While we're talking about recharging, let me give you a couple tips. First of all, because of the type of battery, the lead-acid battery that's in the HP Portable, it's best to just keep the system charged at all times. This is not absolutely necessary, but it'll tend to prolong your battery life. So if you can, keep your unit charged. The second thing I want to mention is that even if your battery gets low, and even though the portable actually only runs off the battery, since the charge of the AC charges the battery faster than you can use it up, you can always use your portable if you have it plugged in. Now let's look at several other of the holds here. I'm going to take this out, and we're going to look at what are called the HPIL cords. Now, what HPIL cords are, let me just show these things here. They're two wires. Each one is a wire, and they're identical. And they have a thick, I'll put the two together here, and they have a thick and a smaller, a bigger and a smaller end. And when you connect the portable up with other units, such as other HPIL printers or HPIL disk drive, you're going to actually create a loop. And right now we're not going to worry too much about the connecting up because that's really section 4. For now you need to know how to actually just plug it into your HP Portable, these HPIL cords. The one trick when you plug it in is to always remember that the widest side is on top. But it's basically just putting the plug in. And in our second cord, we put another plug in. And that's it. And then we would hook the ends to a printer or a disk drive, or actually create a loop where there's 3 or 4 different peripherals all connected up. The way that you know that that you put the right cord in the right hole is simply that it goes in easily. If you have to force it in, then the chances are you've got it upside down. So now let's move on. First, let me take out these 2 cords. And we're going to take a look at the battery itself. Now, sometimes these things come off very easily, and sometimes you have to force a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down the buttons, and we'll see. And it came out relatively easy this time. If you look here, you see this is actually the HP battery, the lead-acid battery that supports and keeps alive all the memory. And the thing that you need to know, and the reason why I wanted to take this off, is to show you this little button. Hopefully the camera can zero in on it. It's located in a slightly different place on the 110 and the Portable Plus. But it's in the battery compartment, and it does the same thing. If your system is ever such that, for whatever reason, you can't reset it, it's something that seldom happens. In fact, I can't think of a time it's happened to me, although it's happened to somebody else in our company. But anyways, when you get to a point where just nothing else works, you can press down the button, and what happens is the whole system gets reset. The bad news is that if you have any files stored in RAM, you'll lose those files. So you don't want to use this. Also, what happens is your system original configuration gets reset. So you'll have to reset the configuration. We'll be talking about resetting configuration in a minute. Now the battery compartment slips on fairly easily. Let's see if we're so easy going off. Let's see if we can get it on. Yeah, there it goes. Now we'll look at the 2 other ports, and they're technically both serial ports, but the first one is the 9-pin female serial port that allows you to connect the Portable Plus with any other serial device. Or I should say, you can connect it and you can make it work with many serial devices. For example, our company sells a mouse and a software that will work with the portable so that you can actually use a mouse with the portables. Most commonly, you'll want to connect the serial port to a serial printer such as the LaserJet or the DeskJet printer. Brian, in his introduction, alluded to the fact that when I left Hewlett-Packard, I left with an HP 110 portable, an 8-pound 110 portable, and a 70-pound LaserJet printer. And I actually was able to make use of the wonderful quality of the printer by printing from this small system. And I did it by using a simple HP cable. And I would just plug the cable into the Portable Plus like this, screw it in, connect the cable, the other end of the cable to the printer, configure the system correctly, and we'll talk about that in section 4. And I was able to use the LaserJet with this HP 110, with my original HP 110 portable. Okay, the final jack that I want to talk about should look familiar to most of you, and it's simply a phone jack. And we have here an extended phone jack, or cord, and we just plug the cord in, and we're ready to communicate with the outside world. We're ready to send information or receive information to other computers. So for our last section in this fundamentals, we're going to look at the PAM screen, the home screen, which we've already had several glimpses of. PAM, Personal Applications Manager, the home screen. Managing your files, configuring your system, starting application programs. Hewlett-Packard was way ahead of its time in 1983 when it introduced what it called PAM, or Personal Applications Manager, on the HP 110 portable and on the Hewlett-Packard 150 touchscreen computer. What PAM does is it hides certain functions from the user. In other words, a better way of saying it perhaps is it makes it easy for you to do things where you don't have to learn a lot of commands. All you have to do is read English, move the cursor, and follow the instructions on the screen. Years later, the Macintosh was introduced, and even further recently, other similar kinds of user interfaces are developed for HP or IBM type machines that HP is similar to. So now let's look at the PAM screen and see what we can find out about it. The most important thing that I want to say right now is good advice that will help you no matter what computer program you're using. And that is always take a few minutes to study the screen, because most programs are designed to give you lots of information on the screen. And what, in fact, we're going to do with this PAM screen is we're going to go line by line and look at all the information that's embedded on the screen. So let's start at the very top. In what's called inverse video, we see the name of the screen. This is our home screen, Personal Applications Manager, PAM. We're told that we're in the main directory as opposed to being in a subdirectory. And we're told that we have lots of RAM disk or E-disk space. We have, in fact, 715,776 bytes free on our A drive or electronic disk. That's a lot of memory to store Lotus files or to store memo maker text or whatever we want to do. The second line is instructions. It says move the pointer to the desired application, then press Start Application. So we've seen this a number of times already in the tape. What it's telling us is to move the cursor key. So I'm going to move the right arrow key, and you'll see the cursor now is pointing at Webster's, Spelling Checker, and then Memo Maker, and Time Manager. And then it says press Start Application. Now what I have been doing all along is pressing Return because I think it's easier. But instead you could press the F1 Start Application key to start it. So I'm going to press the F1 application key, and what's happening is it's telling me that the Time Manager is loading, and in another couple seconds we'll see that calendar in our appointments and to-do list. Now we're going to press the F8 key and exit to get back to our home screen. In general, this is the pattern when we use PAM, is that we start an application, we get into the application, we do whatever we want to do in that application, whether it's Lotus or Time Manager or Memo Maker, and then we come back to our PAM or home screen. Now the third line doesn't tell you anything. And for those of you who are familiar with MS-DOS, you'll want to know this. It's sort of buried in the documentation, but it's a wonderful little tool if you're working from PAM. It turns out that you can type any MS-DOS command from that line. So right now I'm just going to type dir, which asks for a directory of my files, and I'm going to press return. And what's going to happen is that all the files on my disk, remember we've accessed Touch for Memo Maker, and in the very beginning we got cache budget and database for Lotus. Anyways, this is a listing of my files. And now it tells me to press any key to return to PAM, and any key means usually actually any alphabetic or numeric key. I do that, and I'm back into PAM. Now what's important here is not the dir command, but that you can type anything you want on that particular line, and you can execute that particular command. On the next line, we see simply that reminds us that this is a Hewlett-Packard computer. And then a very important key is writing is this telling us that we've got an 83% charge. Our battery is charged 83%. Now, what that means is sort of what you think it means. It means that you have, if everything is right, 83% more life before you're going to lose all your files because the battery life has run down. In fact, this is a simulation. This really doesn't check the battery. This figures the software inside that comes with the portables automatically computes how fast it thinks the battery should wear down. So that means if you have a weak battery, or if you are using, for example, the serial port, which tends to drain the battery faster than in normal usage, this battery indicator won't be correct. Another example, maybe some of you caught earlier in the tape, is when Larry was showing how to install ROM drawers and RAM drawers, that battery indicator said it was 0%. And in fact, that was just an artifact of him actually taking out a drawer and putting something in. The way to reset the battery indicator correctly is just simply recharge it overnight, and then there will be 100% reading on that battery. The next thing tells us that we're filming this on the 6th day of November in 1988. We've already looked at what these boxes mean. These are just a number of different programs that are installed into either RAM or ROM. And the way we know that a program is installed into ROM is that, see there's a letter B, for example, under DOS commands or under Webster. Any software on the ROM disk drive is known by the system as being stored on the B drive. Any software or files that are located in the system, in the A drive, are stored on the RAM drive. So the RAM drive is the A drive and the ROM drive is the B drive. And here we have no application installed in the A drive, only a number of them, 10, 12 applications on the B drive. And as you may have remembered from the drawer that Larry showed, that actually there was only maybe 6 chips. So you can have more than one application on a ROM chip. And you can have, some programs like Webster Spelling Checker or Lotus actually takes more than one ROM chip for an application. But anyway, here the important point is that we can just move our cursor, our pointer, to any particular program we want to start and press return or F1 start application, and we're in business. Now let's look at the bottom of the screen. First, let's look at the center here. we see that it says 3 and 1, and it says 2:36 a.m. Okay, so we've been taping for a while, but it's not 2:36 a.m. That's wrong, and we'll show how to fix that in a minute. The 3 and the 1 refer to this cursor position. It means it's line 3, column 1. If I use the right arrow to move or space bar to move the cursor, you'll notice that we've now moved from row 3 to column 5. I'm going to backspace now, and we're back to 1. Now suppose we want to set the time, the correct time. What we would do, we would use the function key called time and date to set the correct time. And you'll see here is we have 7 different, there's actually 8 labels, but 7 different things that we can do from PAM to further enhance the usability of our system. And one of these is set date and time. And before we do reset the date and time, I want to talk to you about an important concept called menu. A menu is simply a way of traversing commands. And maybe I'll say that another way. If we want to start a program, or if we want to, from PAM, or if we want to in the case of the portable, change the time and date, what's nice is if we have English that says time and date, rather than having to memorize a particular command to set time and to set date. And so what we'll do is we'll press that time and date key, and then we'll have another set of keys. And this is what I mean by menu, that tells us further instruction. So a menu is simply a hierarchy, a tree structure, which allows you to go from point A to point B to point C to point D to finally do what you want to do without really having to memorize anything. It's just reading commands. And we'll see that Memo Maker, Lotus, the PAM screen, everything, many applications on the portable works through this idea of menus. And this is something that will be coming up again, especially in the next section, section 3, and later actually when we're talking about some more of these function keys. So now let's look back on the screen, and let's change our time. So remember, there's a correspondence between the labels and the function keys. So F3 is time and date. And so I'm going to press the F3 key, and I'm given a number of different choices to change. Now the time zone, it's not very important to me in Fairfield, Iowa, but if you need to put your correct time zone in, you can do it. I'm going to move the down arrow key to move to what I need to change. It says 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 2 seconds. In fact, it's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And so what I'm going to do is see the menu choice of next choice. I'm going to press F3 next choice, and you'll watch. It's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And actually this uses Army time, or military time, so we're going to go to 17 o'clock, if we could talk that way. And then I'm going to move the cursor down, and it's about 8 minutes after, so we're going to go next. This time let's go previous choice, and we're going to just keep pressing the key. I'm doing it fast, and it's going down fast, 16, 15, 14, down, and it's 9 minutes now. And so we're in good shape. So now I'm going to press F8, another menu choice, and wait a second, and what should happen is that we'll return to PAM. I'm going to try it again. I guess maybe, oh, there it went. I guess you have to wait 2 seconds. So now let's look. It now says 5:03 p.m. and the accurate time. Now I want to talk about the 3 most important function keys on this particular menu. It's File Manager, Datacom Config, and System Config. We've already talked about Start Application, which is just to start an application up here, and Off to turn your system off. We'll be discussing what read disks are in the 4th section of this tape when we talk about disk drives. So first let's talk about File Manager. Again, with this idea of PAM hiding things from the user, making it easy to use, File Manager lets us do just what you think it should by the name. It lets us manage files. So for example, we had a file named Touch. And suppose that's really not a very good name for that file, and we want to name it something else. We can use the File Manager to rename the file. Suppose we had no more use for that file. We could delete it using File Manager, or we could copy that file Touch, to either what's called a subdirectory within the portable or onto an external disk drive. So as you'll see in a minute, there's a lot of file manipulation that we can do with File Manager. So let's press F2 and see the new menu of choices that pop up on the screen. So I'm going to press F2 File Manager. And what we see is several things. Again, let's just get in the proper habit of reading what's on the screen. It tells us we're in File Manager. We're in the main directory. It tells us, again, how many bytes free we have on the A drive. It tells us to select a function. It's got this third line, which is, again, as you'll see, is for typing if we need to type. And then it actually lists all those files I've got that are in my drive, that are stored there. And I don't know whether you can see in the camera, but the important point here is that this particular computer is not plugged into anything. The only thing we have is a phone cord plugged in the back. And on and off in this tape, we have it connected to the printer, but it's not recharging. And even so, all these files stay alive in RAM, and in fact, will stay alive for many, many hours. Now, if we look at the bottom of the screen, we see 8 different possible choices. If we wanted to format, we're not going to go in order. We'll just look at different keys as it makes sense to look at them. If we wanted to format a drive, if we wanted to reformat the RAM disk, or if we wanted to format an external disk, all we would have to do is press the Format key and follow instructions that are on the screen. What I had mentioned before is really what I would like to do now is I'd like to rename a file. I don't like the name Touch for this article for the portable paper about the external numeric keypad for the Portable Plus. I want to name it Keypad. So let's see how I'm going to do it. I'm going to press the rename F7 key. And it says on the instructions, move the pointer to or type the name of the file to rename. Being basically lazy, I want to just point the cursor to the file I want to rename. And I'm going to press return to lock it in. And we can see where it says rename file as Touch. And now we're going to rename the file to Keypad. So I'm going to type in K-E-Y-P-A-D. I'm going to press return. And it tells me what I want to rename it to Keypad. And I'm going to explain in a few minutes what this A:\/ and so on means. For now, you just need to know it just refers to the fact that we're operating on files on the A drive or the RAM disk or the E disk. So now F1 tells me I should start, and that's what I want to do. Now note that it says Touch right now, and that in a minute, as soon as we start, it's going to say Keypad. So I'm going to press F1. And in fact, let's see if we can find it on here. The new file name is Keypad, and there's no more Touch on the screen. So let's exit. We're finished renaming. And if we wanted to copy a file or we wanted to delete a file, we would go through a very, very similar kind of menu. In fact, let us delete a file just to show you. There's a file here called temp.prn. And files that I name temp are files that I keep for just temporary storage. And my own particular naming system means that they're fair game and that I can delete them any time. And so, in fact, I'm going to delete the file name temp.prn. And to do that, I'm going to go into the delete a file or directory, which is F2. I'm going to move the pointer to the file. There we go. It registers on where it says delete file. I'm going to press return to lock it in. And now it tells me press start if information is correct. So now you see it, and in a second, now you won't. I press F1 start, and there's no more temp.prn. And we've deleted it for good. So now let's get back. We'll exit. Remember, we're in a submenu. We're in File Manager, and within File Manager, we've moved down the hierarchy into delete. Now we press F8. And the only other thing I want to note is that if we wanted to print a file, we could just simply point the cursor to the particular file we wanted to print. And if that particular file was in the right format, like a memo maker ASCII format, for example, the file would print out correctly. Some programs, like Lotus, creates files in its own format, and therefore you would have to print directly from Lotus. So now let's F8 and exit. F8, by the way, is the key that in many, many Hewlett-Packard applications will get you out. Like F8 again will turn the system off. There are two other keys that we need to look at they're found, function keys that are found on Pam's screen. So let's look at F6 system config. You may remember that we briefly looked at it when Larry showed us about putting in RAM and ROM drawers. So I'm going to press F6 system config, and we see a whole list of parameters. And what this menu does, it allows us to configure the HP 110 or the HP Portable Plus the way we want to use it. And let's go through some of these items right now. The very first parameter is the most important, and that's the division between main memory and electronic disk. Remember, main memory is the workspace, the amount of space that you need to run a program and enter information. For example, running Memo Maker and writing a letter. When you're ready to save that information, you save it onto the E-disk. The reason why you might want to vary the main memory is that some programs require more memory than others, or you may be working on some file that's bigger than another file. So let's see if we can change main memory and E-disk, the ratio. The way we do it is we point to, I press F3 next choice. And what happens is you see the main memory has gotten larger. If I press previous choice, the main memory gets smaller and the electronic disk space gets larger. But when you get your software, you'll find in the instructions in most of the software how much internal memory you actually need to run. Memo Maker, for example, takes 96K of internal or main memory to run, and the rest of your RAM can be put into E-disk. On the other hand, if you were to run WordPerfect 5.0 from the Portable Plus, you would need 384K of internal memory, and then the rest for electronic disk space. Most people take the strategy of having the least amount of main memory as possible, because that maximizes how much storage, how much E-disk storage is available on the HP 110 or Portable Plus. Now we'll move down to the second parameter, and we see that this particular Portable Plus is configured for one external disk drive. And we'll be hooking up a disk drive later in the tape, but this tells the system that there is one available, that one may be used. It doesn't really hurt much if you tell the system that there's more disk drives than is actually there. Like right now, there are no drives. It just slows down the going back to the PAM screen after you leave the application a few seconds. The next parameter, disk write off, will actually just leave off. It doesn't work quite properly, and you're really best just not worrying about that. That's disk write verify. Perhaps you've noticed the Portable every once in a while on the tape behind me when I'm talking, sometimes it shuts itself off. This power save mode says, when it's on, says turn the system off every 5 minutes, or in that we'll see in a minute can be adjusted. So right now power save mode is on. If I press next choice, it would be off, and then the system would not turn itself off to save battery. So now I'm going to turn it back on, move the cursor down one more line, and see that right now I've got the display timeout as 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes it shuts itself off. Our cursor type is underscore, and I strongly recommend for almost all applications to change that cursor type to box. We're going to be running in and out of PAM to show you the difference of the two cursors. So we're going to leave this as underscore, and we're going to leave 2 items down, the tone duration as short. And then we'll come back to show you the difference. Console mode is by default HP mode. Alternatively, we can change that to alternate mode. Now what this means is that many applications, such as Lotus or Memo Maker, applications that were written for the HP Portable, will run under this normal HP mode. However, in an attempt to make the Portable Plus a little bit more IBM compatible, there is an alternate mode. And some IBM compatible software will run on the HP 110 or Portable Plus when it is put into console mode. Now, on the 110, there's actually 2 modes, a console mode and another mode that's listed. And it's best either to have them both as HP or both as alternate. In the next parameter, we have the tone duration. And what this tone duration is how loud your beep is. So let's see, I'm going to beep a couple times to see if you make sure you hear that. Just a short beep. I also recommend that you keep that short because you'll hear that beep, and if you're ever in a public place, maybe taking notes at a seminar or at a library, you don't want a loud, embarrassing beep. So we're going to go back into PAM in a minute because the next number of parameters we're going to look at later when it's time to hook up printers in section 4. So right now, remember that our beep is short and that the cursor type is underscore. For these to register, we have to exit PAM. We have to exit the system configuration back to PAM, and then it changes if we had made them would take place. So we're going to exit, and we're back in PAM. And even now, as the system's coming up, you can see the line that's blinking, the third line of the display, and that's the underscore. And you've already heard the short beep. Now we're going to get back into system config. We're going to change these parameters. We're going to change the underscore to box by using next choice. We're going to change the tone duration to long. And for these changes to take effect, we have to exit and get back. Now, did you see, perhaps on the screen, that the cursor briefly went to a box from a line? And in fact, when we're in an application, what we'll see is a box cursor. So very briefly, we get into Memo Maker, and there you can see it turning into a box, and there's the cursor. The cursor is now a box instead of a blinking line, and it's much easier to read. If I press a wrong key, which not quite sure what wrong key to press, there we go, user system, you hear the beep was long instead of short. So we accomplished our change. So now we're going to exit Memo Maker, we're going to press F6 discard, and we'll get back into PAM, and I'll tell you very briefly about one other key, and that's the Datacom config, which is F6. Now actually that was really misnamed in my opinion. It really should be serial config. And if you're using a standard HPIL printer using those black cords, or if you're not using an external modem, you're using an internal modem, you may never need to play with the Datacom config. But let's look at it, F5, Datacom config, and we'll be looking at it again later. It gives configuration settings. So in this particular case, it says that we are in our serial port, remember that 9-pin serial port on the back of the Portable Plus, is configured to a transmission rate of 9600 baud. And these are a number of different parameters that you need need to know about when you're configuring your portable to a serial device. And in the manual of the serial device, such as the HP DeskJet or LaserJet, it'll tell you what settings to put these to. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. For now, you just need to know that there's a serial configuration and a modem configuration. And when you're communicating to another computer, many times this default setting will work. A 1200 baud modem, 7 bits or word length, 1 stop bit, and even. But again, the system that you're communicating to will give you the information. You may need to change those parameters. You don't really have to know at all what they mean. Just know that if you're not communicating with the serial device, the chances are very great that either the cable is bad or not proper, or that these settings are incorrect, and you just need to go to the manual or the other system to find out what the settings should be. So let's press F8 to exit. We're exit. Now the portable, HP 110 portable has a very similar screen, but it's not quite laid out the same way, but the information is essentially the same. One other thing I want to mention about the battery, because we were talking about the percentage of battery life. HP makes it very, very, very difficult for you to lose your information. Even if this indicator is wrong, what happens when the battery level is actually 20% and it's actually checked, a black inverse video, and this is what I mean by inverse video, inverse video, where the lighter character is on a darker background, is printed out saying low battery. And at that point, you should definitely want to recharge your battery. You still, if your battery is a good battery, will have another 2 hours. But at that point, be sure to recharge it. HP, in fact, puts in another safety check. And after those 2 hours, what'll happen is that the system will automatically shut itself off. The system will go blank. And actually, you still have 2 or 3 or 4 days, or even if your battery is strong, a couple weeks, because what's happening is it's still giving charge, but it's saying, it's giving you a real strong warning message to plug your system in, to recharge your system. So now we're completed with the PAM menu, and we can go on to just a few other items that I wanted to mention. And these items are just a few more fundamentals, and then we're finished with this section, and we can go on to using Lotus and using Memo Maker. The first thing I want to mention is that on the HP 110, when you purchase an HP 110, you get a disk that comes with it. This particular disk, the HP 110 Utilities disk, works with the external disk drive that you can purchase with your portable, and it gives you some extra software, some extra commands. In particular, if you're using Lotus and you want to print to a plotter, there's a program that allows you to print to the plotter. If you want to use the Lotus tutorial, it's found on this particular disk, this external disk. There's one other very valuable feature that's built into the HP 110 and HP Portable Plus, and that's a self-test, so that if anything ever goes wrong with your HP Portable, you can see immediately if what it is. So let's first turn off the system by pressing F8. Now what we do is we must hold down the control key, the shift key, the extend character key, and then hold down the FK8 system, the FK8 key for a few seconds, let go, and we'll see something that says built-in self-test. Now the HP 110 and Portable Plus both have this ability. However, on the 110, if you want a more more complete self-test, you'll need to use the test program that's on the utilities disk. Now, if we go down the keys again, we can understand how to use this by just simply reading the screen. If we press the F1 key, we get a system test, and that really tests everything. The LCD test, or F2, tests the screen to see if the screen is working properly. F3 tests the timer. F4 tests what's called the RS-232 port, and that was just simply the serial port. F5 tests to see if those HPIL capability of the Portable Plus, remember those two black cords, works properly. F6 tests the internal memory, or an internal modem. F7 tests the ROM to see that the ROM is properly, that work properly. Shift F1 tests the RAM, and Shift F2 tests the drawers to see if they're in properly. Now, one thing that's very important on the Portable Plus, and actually it's not a bad idea if you're doing a test in either machine, is that if you do a RAM test, you're going to have to back up your files because the RAM test destroys any of the files that are on the E-disk or A drive or RAM drive. Now we've finished the fundamentals section, and we're ready to get to work. We're ready to now use Lotus or use Memo Maker, use Time Manager, use our communications products. We've done the hard part, now we get the fruit.